Do the intro.
Me?
Me? Joe?
No.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography. I'm here with Joe and Jason again. We are still discussing the Eagles. 3 men discussing and ranking 7 men of the Eagles. 7 albums, 7 men, no coincidence, or a lot of coincidence. Anyway, let's get right on to it. Jason, your 7 Eagles members, rank them. Tell us why.
All right, number 7, gonna be Glenn Frey. He is an okay singer. His voice is pleasant enough, but doesn't have a ton of character. I can sort of see where you're coming from when you say that you don't feel a lot of emotion from some of their songs, especially when he's singing. Not a ton of character, and I think he's responsible for writing the largest number of their sort of clunker tracks that aren't the best. At number 6, I have Timothy B. Schmit, who I think is great. I think he is the best possible replacement for Randy Meisner, but he falls a little lower on this list just because of his brief tenure with the band. Didn't have a lot of time to really make a huge impact, although I think I Can't Tell You Why is a phenomenal song. At number 5, I have Don Henley. I like his voice. I think he's a good singer. No real reason for putting him down at number 5, except I like the other 4 members of the band a little better. Number 4, I have Joe Walsh. Fantastic guitar player. Love his solo work. I don't necessarily think that he was the best fit for the Eagles. I know they really wanted to toughen up their sound a little bit and bring in a really well-respected hard rock guitar player. Maybe a little bit of a forced situation there, trying to wedge him into the band.
Jason, if you're willing to acknowledge that they wanted to add more of that power punch with the guitar, who would you have put in there or asked to play with them instead of Joe Walsh?
I would have just kept Bernie Leadon in the band and not gotten harder and just stayed a country rock band. If they have to become like a heavy band, I don't know. It's not the way they write. They don't write like riff-centric songs, so it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know. I like Bernie Leadon. But I also like Don Felder. He's my number 3 pick, primarily for his work on One of These Nights. I think that's a great performance on that record. The guitar tones are so good, and the solos are great. Really makes his impact felt. Number 2, I have Bernie Leadon, just another great guitarist, banjoist, and a great all-around musician. Yeah, and I think he gave the band a real authenticity that they would have otherwise been lacking. And at number 1, I have Randy Meisner. Love his voice, probably my favorite singer in the band. I love pretty much every song that he sings lead on. And when he's not singing lead, his high harmonies really just bring everything together in a kind of a special way. Yeah, that's my ranking of the Eagles members.
Joe, do you agree that they didn't need to bring on someone like Walsh?
They didn't need to. I think his work is really good on Hotel California, though, so I do not mind the change at all.
What do you got for your 7?
My 7, coming in at number 7, Timothy B. Schmit, who only played on 1 album or 2 or whatever. Long Road Out of Eden doesn't count, but his work with the band is too slight to really have him high on this list, and I don't like that either album he was on. Number 6, Joe Walsh. Again, it's more just output for him. I thought he was great on Hotel California. He's fine on the long run. He's probably the best part of the long run, but again, he was only on 2 albums and didn't have too much contribution. Number 5 is going to be Glenn Frey. I think him and Henley do some really nice writing together, especially on Desperado. They wrote majority of the songs. They're the first 2 songwriters. So I think I have him a little higher than Jason, even though I don't love his voice or some of his kind of not newly, but the yacht rock almost kind of singles that he put together are probably the band's worst. He's fine. He's a necessary member of the band. Number 4, Don Felder. Like Jason said, he did some really great guitar work on One of These Nights. And I think that carried over into Hotel California, even though he kind of got pushed back by Joe Walsh. Number 3 is going to be Bernie Leadon. His just multi-instrumental talents are pretty amazing. He plays kind of all the cool Southern rock, bluegrassy kind of stuff, the banjo, mandolin, dobro. And I think he really has a nice flavor to their early albums. Kind of a shame that he left because that did kind of shift their whole sound into a more straight ahead rock. Number 2 is going to be Randy Meisner. I love his vocal work. I think he sings, the songs he sings might be the strongest from front to back. He doesn't sing on a lot of bad tracks. He doesn't write a lot of bad tracks. I think he's very consistent. I love that his voice isn't as perfect as the other members, even though he hits those really high harmonies. Take It to the Limit's probably the best example of his lead vocals. Number 1's gonna be Don Henley. I really like Hotel California. I like his songwriting. It's sort of sardonic and bitter, a little sarcastic. He's kind of mean. I think he has a really great voice. And I think he probably did the bulk of the songwriting of the songs that I like, especially on Hotel California, which is sort of a solo effort almost. He really takes control, and it kind of built from that, from Take It to the Limit. I kind of think he starts exercising more control over the band, and that leads into my favorite, Hotel California. So that's why Don Henley's my number 1, and that's my 7th favorite Eagles.
I'm not nearly as cruel as Jason. I really don't like Glenn Frey, but I'm not going to put it at number 7. It's got to be Timothy B. Schmit. I mean, at least Glenn was putting in the work. At least he showed up for every album. That was rough and a little surprising. So Schmit is going to be my number 7 just because of the lack of contribution, but nothing really wrong with him. Glenn is my 6. I've already said a lot about him. He's a flatlining kind of robotic soft rock, no personality in him at all, so strong number 6. Number 5 is going to be Leadon. I like what you guys are saying. He does a lot of the instrumentation and puts that Southern seasoning, especially on the first few albums. I've got Don Felder for the guitar work. He was their best guitar player up until Joe Walsh. So he's my number 4. Number 3, I've got Meisner. Joe, I love everything you're saying about him. He comes in with those high harmonies, but the contrast of his imperfect or damaged singing style and voice is really nice against the clean-cut Henley and the absolutely morose Frey. 2, I've got Joe Walsh. It's Joe Walsh. He's fun. He's a great guitar player, and he kind of has a significant part on Hotel California and The Long Run, which are 2 of my top 3 albums by them. And then number 1, by a long shot, is Don Henley. He's the only one, like Joe was saying, that has some personality. His songs are sardonic and mean, and he's very cynical. But he does have a very satisfying, pleasing sound and timbre to his voice. And then, like I said before, I love his solo stuff. Not that we're putting that into the equation, but he is my favorite member of Eagles. So we all have a different favorite. No, me and Joe both had Henley. Never mind.
I have an answer for your recasting Joe Walsh question.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. No.
I think this is a good answer, but as far as the timeline goes, he may have been a little bit too much of an unknown at the point when Hotel California came out. What Hotel California was
76?
7?
Good question. Great question. I can look it up in a minute. 77. No, 76.
I was gonna say I think a better fit for the Eagles might have been Mike Campbell. But when did the first Petty album come out?
78, maybe.
Yeah, probably a year or 2 after that.
He would have still been kind of an unknown entity at that point.
What about
who?
Buchanan?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Actually,
I don't know how that was.
First Tom Petty was 76, so he would have been ready to break out right then.
How old was Steve Stevens of Billy Idol at this time? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know anyone else that would be.
It's really not that important of a question. And me personally, I love the addition of Joe Walsh. So let us know what you think of our top 7 favorite Eagles video. We do have some interesting stuff coming up. I will be taking the next week off, but Jason and Joe are going to guide you through their listography of Squeeze. And then after that, I think we got a really good chunk of stuff coming up. We also have some brand new segments that will be coming to the channel that we're really excited about. Till those are up, leave your comments. Let us know what you think of our videos, and stay tuned for some stat picks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get the notifications. Stay safe out there, and Jason, Joe, and myself will see you next time here on Listography.